Okay.
You're sharing now.
Yep. I bring the focus here. We have a little bit of a problem. Let's see. I'll refresh. This is, of course, a browser who's trying to go to Webley Online. And I want to let you guys know that I dream of stuff and Dudley codes it. And sometimes we say, how can that work? And we think around the possibilities, but I'm only the dreamer, he's the coder. 132.4 has been very dependable. So one of the basic things we fall into, well, okay, here's a basic hello world. And if I Control-C that and stick it up here and enter it, you can see that it compiled. It's a little bit slow, but it's going over the internet. Now, Dudley, you're here, right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so before Dudley talks about how we were able to achieve this and using another language in the beginning, I just want to show you one thing from the contract generator. If I put in a circuit breaker, I forgot to do this first. Let me start this a little bit differently. This shows what the columns mean. And if I put in CB and 3CB, notice that the 1 here, I didn't put it in. It automatically put that in there. And so if this was a list of parts, TT would call it. I'm going to go ahead and show them the one thing over here. Let's see. There's various parts. And because I don't like to talk too much, ELE is short for electric vocabulary and HH is for words. So that one underneath the test called riser is kind of interesting. So this has to be running before this will break out. Okay, interrupted.
Did you mention that this is for electrical contract bids?
Good point. Yeah, there's many hundreds of words here, which are names of parts that electrical contractors use. And by typing the name of the part, often the vocabulary first, and then the name of the part, it will come out with the time and the price. So riser is something that goes from your meter up to the weatherhead. And we have several kinds of riser here, at least different voltage things. So if a customer didn't know if he wanted 100 amp or maybe more, let's have a price. Maybe he wants 125 amp. So you can see that a 200 amp service would be almost twice as much. Now, the rest of a new electric service for a house doesn't vary that much. It's kind of a minimum bus bar size. So at this point, Dudley, would you like to talk about how we're able to put forth on the web?
Okay, let's see.
Are you the
You want to run CG?
Well, what I thought we were going to do here in Webley is
we're going to look at the code for the fourth web server.
Okay, so I will do that. So I'll minimize this down here. There's Win32.4 with the editor.
I'll just point out a few things. Let's see here. When the request comes in, first we serve the web page, and then we wait for the HTML on the web page to get a line of, wait for a carriage return, and then takes the text from the last time to this current carriage return and sends it to.
What line number are you talking about?
Well, I'm not there yet. I'm
Okay.
just talking about what the fourth in the HTML does.
Good.
It sends the request then here where we do a lot of vectoring, and there's some logging involved. And then it executes the command. So
Let me jump in here. Line 65 changes the output to the web, and line 72 sends it to the console. So we're vectoring emit, type, carriage return, and
yeah, it shows the handful of words that we need to vector in order to get the output of interpret into a buffer, where it is then sent back to the web page, the client. And that's, it's kind of nice that it's only those 5 words that have to be vectored in order to get it to work. There's a few other little words to handle. These are how it handles the type it and emit, getting a cursor position, which is actually a pointer into the buffer. And the carriage return.
there's a virtual carriage return there.
Well, yeah, that's what it's vectored to. So every time something is output to the console and it asks, did we see a carriage return or not? We check to see if it's past the end of the 80 columns or however wide the screen is, and then automatically issue a carriage return into our buffer and send it back to the web page. And there's some signaling involved to handle a line at a time going back to the browser. And the only other, let's see, well, there's where interpret's called after the vectoring. And we catch errors.
Now, I want to say that originally it would output one line, but then when we came to the idea of outputting the word words, which has several lines, Dudley had to spend a lot of thinking and do a lot of things that seemed like it couldn't be done, but he did them.
And you want to mention that we're based this on Windows sockets code.
By Audrey Cherezov.
Which I don't know where we found it. We found it online somewhere.
It's in the Win32 archives.
Oh, okay.
I think.
The only other thing was what I had to learn to do
Yeah, that one.
Sending the headers and the data back and forth. I don't see that we have that file open here.
Isn't it right here, VictiNet? No?
No, that's the higher level.
Now here he's going to show you how to bring up a browser. It's kind of limited, but you can look at all the files. And while he's looking around, I want you to know any bids I make go onto OneDrive, which means the bids are accessible from out in the field with any browser. So that helps.
No. Let's see. Socket right, socket read. Let's see. I guess it was back in Vectint. We actually do the.
Let's look at the top of this file to see who did it.
Where's the header? I'm not sure.
Sockets. You could triple click on something.
Socket read, socket mode. Something. This looks decent. Well, I don't know. Somewhere there was a where we send the HTML file and the header.
Well, there is the HTML file, of course.
Saving.
How do we get away?
Okay. Read files. Here, send headers.
Triple.
You can mention our triple click.
There we go.
There. Oh, it is here in this file. Send headers. That you have to send the header followed by a carriage return, and then you have to know the length of the data that you're sending, content length. And we have our own header for forth in order to signal back and forth between the web page and the forth. And this is where we output the length of the data that we're sending, and then an extra carriage return line before the data. That finally sends the data. vQuery. That's about all I need to say about the making a small web server in Forth. It'll only handle one client at a time, but there's a timeout of about half a minute that we use. So whoever comes in, nobody can hog the connection.
Yeah, to embellish on that, you can have several people, more than one, logged on, but whoever is active gets the response. And if you're just sitting there, it's just sitting there waiting for you. And the timeout does come along and activate whoever's working on it.
But the server, the browsers automatically reconnect, so the timeout doesn't affect them.
I want to go find the HTML file, which I thought was here. How do we get?
Well, it's here.
Where?
Here.
Okay, good. Oops. So this is where I put that hello world thing. And I had to use some special characters here because this is HTML. But, oh, this source is not on my machine. Okay, so right after test, I could put the CR because before, I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do a funny thing here. I'm gonna revert, then I'm gonna push here, just divert this F1 key. Green is insert, blue, this is browse mode, and this is overstart. So if you view a word with VV, it puts you in this mode where you can't trash anything. It doesn't matter what you do. It's delete key doesn't do anything. But so I'm going to go into the insert mode and put a carriage return in here. Where am I?
You're in overstruck.
Oh yeah. Now if I do, so sometimes I'm not sure if this save really works.
Well, it's not gonna work here because you're on your computer, not on the Surface.
Right. So if I was on the Surface, I could just rerun it again and it would put a carriage return in front. So which way should we go now?
I was just would show the amount of JavaScript needed. That's basically all of it in these 20 lines or so on the client side. All the heavy lifting is on the fourth side. It was originally done in Python for the browser connection. In the Python talk to forth and sent it back to the client. Then we just, once that was working well, we decided to go for the fourth server itself. That took a little while to puzzle out all the intricacies. And, it wasn't that bad though. Making a web server, making a web server code in code.
Let's go into contract generator. If I get stuck, you can come back here. I'm going to show you guys a bid. And this Troy, this guy just around the corner, he actually signed up for this $3,000 worth of plugs. But one of the things is Dudley made this paragraph numbering thing, because sometimes I'll be online and I want to say, okay, you see paragraph 3, do you want to do that, or do we really need paragraph 4? And these numbers at that time had a little glitch. So I just dropped my microphone. Okay, now Bob Smith made something. If you hold down the control key and go like this, amazingly, I can get rid of those. And I have one more here. I think that's amazing. I hope Bob Smith is still around. I'm going to save that. And now if I hit F11, I have my numbers back. Now notice these on the right hand are a little sketchy. So if I hit F2, everything gets repriced. Now let's say that this job can't handle 180 an hour. Let's just put it at 100. Now before I hit F2, up here we have the total of 2,300. I'm going to hit F2. We dropped it down to 1,400, just that quick. And that's the word we call extend. So actually the guy did sign up for this much. And so we have a total of 2,300. The labor is the most of a job like this, because this is fish in the walls, which means we have to, as you would imagine, stick Romex up inside the wall, but there's no extensive conduit or anything. Materials are about 131 wholesale before tax, this much after tax. I used to have my guys try and get this 11-hour job done in 9 hours, but I found, interestingly, this 11 hours comes from the National Electrical Contractors Manual of Labor Units. So if I triple click on this plug, I hope, it'll show that over here, the surface EMD is the vocabulary, and a plug is $19 per each. That seems high. And 175 hours per C. So
per
this
100,
is,
per 100.
yeah, per 100, yeah. This is the database. And I have all kinds of things here, like hooking up a range or a dryer. The range has a little bit more expensive parts, a little bit more time. And so we have lots of words. This particular file isn't that big, but it's there.
Did you want to tell us, mention some of the features that we use in WinEd?
Which ones?
Well, you showed them the triple clicking to, and how about viewing source code?
Yeah, well, since we triple click to get here, up here, this came with WinEd, there's a left thing that takes us back to the previous file. And what I like is the fact that I can change the function keys anytime I want without having to call Dudley. If I view F13, which is an impossible thing, it takes me to this file, ed keys, and if I go down here, I get eventually, did I pass it up? to the function keys. And you can see here that hyperlink used to be grand total and fstack save. I've changed these and I kept the old word there. It's a big, obviously a big case file within a loop. So direct me onward before I look at my list. I like this editor. We wonder how do you guys use the other editor? What's it called? Something plus plus. My memory isn't perfect.
Notepad++. They don't use that. They use Scintilla. DLL.
I thought Notepad used Scintilla.
Yeah, it does, but so does the fourth IDE. Any application can use Scintilla just as a base.
Right.
People on Windows might be using the fourth IDE, which uses based on Scintilla.
Mm-hmm. There's some other words that I guess came with the system, XREF, which I call ref. If I wanted to know what words they're calling circuit breaker, looks like MM is. This is a vocabulary and has quite a few different kinds. So up here, ref CB circuit breaker, that's a vocabulary compared to the 2-letter word, and it has all these things in here. So if you wanted to plug hard, of course, that would be a different price than just a plain plug. And TT totals it. Let's see.
I don't think people care so much about the electrical parts.
Yeah, even they don't. You guys care about the electrical part? Oh, and then also, Dudley suggested that, let's say we had, I'm going to do the CLS. Let's say we had made some changes. We'll close this. Let's see, changes to, yes, I want to keep those. Watch how fast, here we go. 1, 2, 3, hit it. Okay, it's didn't. 1, 2, 3, hit it.
Double click.
Double click, okay. 1, 2, 3, click, click. And we're done.
It recompiled all the fourth on top of Win32 fourth exe plus of the editor.
That's a nice thing about having a modern 32 or 64 bit computer. When we started out in 1980, we had screens of about 48 characters by 16 lines. And we had to change this thing so many times. Now, originally, I started trying to keep track of prices on a spreadsheet. Well, that gets cumbersome pretty quick. And then some people said you should use DBase 2, but luckily, Dudley was there and friendly and willing to help me. In fact, he was an employee for a while. He also worked for Pet Cafe. But anyway, we just gradually built this thing. So so here on, let me find.
Maybe that's something.
Well, I'm just going to explain.
Well, maybe you want to ask if there are any questions.
Well, before I ask, I want them to know that this first 16 characters or so are for the name of the room or whatever. Maybe it's obvious to you. The center column is interpreted, and the far right column is put where the answers. If I change this to one column and hit F2, then it's like that. If I change the hourly rate here, oh, here's a time factor. To me, this is interesting. This is bumping up the amount of time by 1/3. It turns out that the contractor's labor manual of labor units is pretty accurate, but one company I referred jobs to, the guys, he puts new people out there without much training, and for the longest time, I couldn't figure out why it took longer than this said it should. I'm hoping for having it come in as a goal less. Well, you have to be well trained. So that time factor bumps it up for when you have untrained people. Go ahead, Dudley.
I forgot what I was talking about.
Are there any questions?
Oh, questions, right.
Yeah, how about a question? You're all
Nobody
reading,
left.
everybody's reading comic book.
No, I found it
Everybody's gone
really
home.
fascinating. The web server part, would you guys be interested in, I don't know if we need it or not, but on the robotic project, maybe helping us out with a web server? Or maybe Brad's got it all handled, I don't know. Might be interesting.
What is the suggestion here now?
Sure of the application yet.
You follow that, Dudley?
I think he may be suggesting that we have some other application that could use a web front end.
We have Don, we did have some success with a web style front end. They're running the web server itself on Inform, which is kind of interesting. It's pretty could do some collaboration. Although I think we're probably good to start. We probably want to see where we land with that. Don't know.
Right. Yeah, I was kind of thinking down the road. Maybe some of their web server stuff we might incorporate down the road. I know we don't, as far as the comm link goes, we don't need it, but I don't know. It just was a thought.
Yeah.
Okay, well, one of the limitations of this web browser is you right now can't save files, but you can, as you saw, do the copy paste, and you can see where you are, and there are directories here. Oops. So it's a basic thing that could be expanded, and it would be wonderful if they did, if you did.
I'm just thinking of a different use for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sure.
The source code is on GitHub under my name, if anybody wants the exact name, or Dudley could tell you, but
Or you could put it in the chat.
yeah. We find GitHub is much nicer than SourceForge. It has nice tools that you can step back in history, you can fork and revert, which we haven't had to do. But it's a nice system.
I encourage you to send it to the SVFIG email list.
Okay.
I've known both of these gentlemen for all the time they've been working on this, I think, and it's one of the longest term between an active business trying to run his business off of fourth code and a programmer working with him to do this that I've ever seen. Anyway, it's been a wonderful partnership to watch.
Yeah, here's a little word that I use. Let's say line 32 and line 33 were out of order. Switched them over. I don't know why it's called GGG. There used to be a GG that worked where the cursor was, but it was too confusing. So I've got lots of little things. Hopefully it won't be like Will Baden. Will Baden had a fourth that was so personalized that no one could keep track of these 2-letter, 3-letter things. And when he was starting to get older in age, he said, I'm just going to delete the whole thing. So he didn't want people to have to try and figure it out. So I hope this passes on to somebody. If you know an electrician, contractor, or even a plumber, he could change his database. I got thousands of things in here, like bolt-on circuit breakers and circuit breaker panels, RAID type panels, commercial panels. We've got bulbs. And by the way, what's going wrong?
You have
Bulbs
to
is-
be an electric
oh,
vocabulary to find bulbs.
I wonder if up arrow will work.
Mhm. No bulbs.
Huh?
It's not, no bulbs.
1 second.
Why don't you?
It's singular.
Oh, bulbs.
This brings up one thing I want to mention. I don't know if you guys care, but at the higher level, I usually use hyphenated things. It's usually like wall mount. It's supposed to be two words hyphenated. Down in the source code, programmers usually don't want that many typing, so they don't use hyphens. But anyway, over here, so we have, you want a LED 48-inch? I can tell you the price and I'll put it in for you. $128. I think that's including converting an existing fixture. Okay, guys, let's have another question. What I really like is this F1, that if you just view a word unknowingly with VB, it'll put you in browse mode and you can do all kind of stuff. You can click on things, I think.
Triple click.
Okay, and you can go back to where you were, and you can F1 to the insert mode for when you're actually just changing a price. Say this to 52, and you can go into this mode, and escape always takes me back over here to the console. Yeah. Okay, that's it for me, I think.
All right. Well, thank you very much, John. I copied the link that Dudley sent off onto the SVFIG mailing list.
Is that
So,
the Webley link?
And
It's
the
to
GitHub.
the CG.
GitHub.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we encourage people to come on to Webley also, and if you do, would you kindly type your name, and of course it won't know what the heck you're talking about, but let me show you.
You'll have to maybe put the URL.
If you type John like that, it gives an error, but it does get saved in the user history. So when we go there and see who has been there, I might just go there with VNC. VNC I love. I'm going to go onto the Surface, which is an early model of the Surface. It has low resolution graphics, so it just sits at Dudley's house all the time. And Comcast is me signing on here. And if this thing would move up, well, I think I'm going to close it by clicking several times here. And then I'll go to the browser, which is on the Surface. And do we see the user thing here? Where did it go, Dudley?
Huh? What?
Where's the users? Log of the users who's signed in.
It's in Web Interpret directory.
Thank you, sir.
Could have opened it in Chrome.
So some people have come on here from Amazon or CloudDick, whatever that is. And it's kind of extra work to make the latest on the top. So we'll go down the bottom. It looks like John was here. So please let us know if you visit. And that is a wrap.
I put the URL in the chat.
Good. Thank you so much.
But be gentle.
Well, if you there's my text there. If you crash it, I don't care. Just text me a thing and I'll restart it. It's really easy. I'll show you where we are here.
I just tried that URL and it didn't respond.
Well, it's down
Okay,
at
well,
this moment.
That's
why
good.
don't we do this? John, you might want to respond directly to folks that contact you to help them get onto this. And also consider, if you want to make it a thing, you might want to make a short getting started video and send it to Brad, who will put it on our YouTube channel.
You're thinking of getting started with the web browser or with the contract generator or what?
Whatever you'd care to tell us about.
Okay.
if you URL for the web access to the contract generator, if you're interested in playing with that, and you can't just go from what you see there, that dotted quad, then maybe contact John. And if John gets enough people contacting him, he'll make a YouTube video, and
Yeah.
and Brad will post it to the channel.
Right
All
now, I'm burned out for another month. Thank you, though.
All right. Thank you so much, John. It's good to have you in the loop again.
Let me ask before you go, whoever logged on, will you type your name? Is that one of us?
Yes, it is.
Lightspeed, will you type your name there?
We won't, you have to look at users.
Oh, we don't see it here. All right. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. Bye-bye.
Okay. Robert Heinlein taught me the most memorable thing about Robert's Rules of Order, at least the part that I remember. A motion to adjourn is always in order. It is not debated. It takes precedence. And does anyone have anything else before we go?
Yeah, I
I
have a
move we
quickie.
adjourn.
I have a quickie. I was part of Will's group back in the 80s, and he called it This Forth, didn't he?
Yes.
Was it This Forth?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, Will was a character. I love that guy.
He was fun. He taught me a lot and helped me out a lot. Bob Smith, is Bob Smith still around?
He isn't active in the fourth community. He's still alive as far as I know.
Okay, good.
He had some medical troubles not too long ago, so he wasn't high bandwidth.
I did invite Tom Zimmer. I see he didn't come here, but it was funny because one time he came onto this website, the browser, and he tried to do a do loop and he put the two numbers backwards.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah, that's why I copy and paste it. All right.
All right. So thank you very much. Thanks to our speakers. Thanks to Bill Ragsdale for presenting, and also for turning the crank on this whole assembly. And with that, I think if Bill's online right now, he can pull the plug. And I'm going to leave, and I assume all the rest of you will as well.
Right.
Farewell. See you next month.
Bye-bye, everybody.